Welcome, everybody, to the Mind, Body, and Soul television show coming to you live from our Denver, Colorado internet studios. I am your host, Coach Steve Todd, and also the founder of Conscious Evolution Media, 10 plus years going, and I'm going to stop counting pretty soon, and 15,000 plus shows are on the air and in space. So let me introduce, well, before I introduce her, I just want to make sure that everybody knows that we are on YouTube Live, as well as on Hangouts and at consciousevolutionmedia.com. We have a chat room there, so you can even chat with us and ask us questions. And let me introduce our very interesting and intriguing guest for this evening. Her name is Patricia Brooks, and she is an author and many other things that we're going to find out here in this short hour, because it's a conscious hour. Our theme this evening is how to embrace our truth as spiritual beings. Welcome, Patricia, to the show.
Thank you, Steve. I'm excited to be here.
It's great to have you. So, Patricia, if I took away the title author and all the other titles that anybody has ever called you in your life, and I took them all away, what if I stripped you from all the titles? What would be left? Who is really Patricia Brooks?
You know, that's such an easy question for me, Steve, because now it's an easy question because I, as like everyone listening, I'm a spiritual being. That's my truth. And it's interesting, you said embrace our truth as spiritual beings. That's like a header on my website. That's what it's all about for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I figured that would be your passion.
Yeah.
I go to all of our guests before I do a show. I go to their website and I connect with them there. So,
Right.
because your website is you. So,
Right.
there you go. Fantastic. So I'm really curious about, you know, in our title here, there's a couple of interesting words. One is truth, and the other is spiritual beings. And I guess embracing is an interesting word too, but for me, what stands out, number one, is truth. Let's talk about truth for a little bit, because it's a big word. It's been not just used a lot, but it's been overused, and a lot of times people go like, okay, so what are we talking about? Truth is such a loose idea and notion. What truth are we talking about?
You know, let me just say first, I'm really excited to be able to have this conversation with you, and I thank you, you know, for this, because I think it's so important. So truth to me is what is. It is all there is. You know, it's everything. And that almost sounds a little cliche, but my journey over the past 5 years has brought me to a real deep understanding that being a spiritual being is that's what we are. That is our truth. That's all there is.
So since we're living in this world of duality, what would be the opposite of truth?
What would be the opposite of truth? I don't know. Is that a trick question? Like untruth? Are you looking for a direct, or are you just talking about more?
No,
I don't do
trick questions.
You trick questions, okay? Because well, I just want to make sure. So if we say that my truth, I say that my truth is a spiritual being. It's all of our truths. Then the opposite of that would be whatever was not spirit, whatever was not
True.
The essence.
We could also say it could be lie. The opposite of truth could be a lie, right?
Yes, and that was my question, and you said it wasn't a trick question.
It's not a trick. Yes, it's not a trick question.
Okay.
The reason I asked it is because a lot of people in our history of humanity has come forth with the truth, and a lot of people have been burned. Sometimes. Literally. You know what I mean?
Right. And you know what? And that's a really, really valid point. And I'm glad you brought that up too. So when I talk about truth and how I know something is my truth, and I've, you know, I'm 53 now, so I've been raised my whole life. I've learned a lot of different things, and what I've come to realize over the past couple of years, when I speak about my truth, it's really what resonates in my soul. It's something that just gets down into the very fiber of who I am, and it feels right to me. That's when I speak my truth. That's how I know it's my truth.
Yeah, that's awesome. So it's really just about you and your knowing is what I'm hearing in that. It's what you identify as truth is your truth, not someone else's, and it feels good to you. It feels congruent with who you are, right?
I think it's really important that, right, my truth may not be your truth, and it may not be a listener's truth. I believe there is more than one truth. I believe that there are many truths. One of the things that I've come to realize through my study and through my exploration and my experiences is not only am I a spiritual being, and I believe truly that you are and the listeners are, but there's many different types of spiritual beings. So we don't come from this very diverse, different people, different ethnicities, different languages, different beliefs and thoughts in the human world, and then go up to this giant vanilla spiritual realm. So in the spiritual realm, we're different too. So what is my truth may not be your truth. But and I think that it's important that everyone takes, everyone finds their own, what feels right to them. And when people can have that level of exploration, then the burning or the truths or the untruths that have been told through the ages, people have more clarity about that, because they'll know to follow what feels right to them.
Yeah. I think it needs to be distinguished because what you said, there has been a lot of con artists that talked about the truth. And it was also their truth, but they wanted people to follow them. So not that this is right or wrong, but I say to the viewers a lot of times on these shows is that don't follow me, follow you.
Right. Oh, absolutely. I just did a show. I have a radio show also, and I just did a show, and the title of it was don't chase the guru. Not everyone is your teacher, not everyone is your healer. And it was really about personal exploration and finding what resonates truly with the individual.
Yeah, awesome. So another thing that I noticed that there's and this is about your book as well, but there's this this common theme, and it keeps coming up that I wanted to talk to you about it. Spiritual seekers. What are people seeking?
Other than the obvious truth of who we are.
No, some people are seeking BMWs. Some people are seeking white picket fence. Some people are seeking who knows.
Right, but that wouldn't be a spiritual seeker. So I think of myself as a spiritual seeker. Well, okay, let me think about that. Okay, so where do we derive our spirituality, right? Where do we? Well, for me, and I think for most people, when we use that phrase, it's a matter of exploration. It's a matter of knowing there's more and wanting to figure it out or wanting to feel it. For me, it's a matter of feeling. It's really, it's very cliche to say get out of the head and get into your heart. But there's a lot of truth in cliches. So I believe that spiritual seekers, it's kind of it's almost like going for the perfect bite. You ever go after the perfect bite? I feel like I've been chasing the perfect bite my whole life. I'll eat something, I'll be like, oh, that was good, but I just want a little bit more. That's what I feel like with the spiritual seeking. I get a little taste of it, and I say, that feels really good. I know that's real. I know that's true. And I know there's more. There's always more. And so I seek. I continue to seek.
I see. Okay. So, yeah. I don't know where I stand with that. I sometimes feel that I stopped seeking because I used to be a spiritual and a spiritual junkie, I guess, and a personal development junkie. I've done it for several decades. And I arrived to a place of my life, not because, I continue to grow, but I keep going within myself to learn more about who I am and to become a better human being. And I'm not sure. I go back and forth with this because yeah, there's a lot to learn still. There's a lot of things I don't know, but I'm not sure anymore. I'm questioning this about myself, that it's really about knowledge, because I am actually interested in things that we don't need. I don't even know how to ask the question.
Right. Right. That's really profound when you say, I think you're at a really deep place when you have enough clarity to realize you don't even know what the next question is. I mean, and I think that's really honest, and I think that's an amazing place to be. But I understand what you're saying, because I've come to a point with that also. So I'll give you a great example. So I have done a number of past life regressions, a few past life regressions, and I've learned quite a bit about different issues I had, why I felt certain ways, and learning and growing. And then I got to the point I don't want to do any more past life regressions. I'm not going to be chasing every past life I ever had, right? I mean, when is enough enough, right?
It's like,
and
yeah,
right. So I came to a place.
Isn't it more attractive to be like, you are being with me, I'm being with you, and we being with the world? I mean, isn't this just precious right now? I mean, I wouldn't trade this, and I've done some past life regression stuff myself, but I wouldn't, right now, knowing what I know, and I don't know much, I wouldn't trade this experience to having a past life regression experience. Do you get me?
Oh, I understand. I understand the present moment, but the idea of that I was seeking something, and I was seeking knowledge, or I was seeking an experience, and then I had enough of that particular type, and I said, wait a minute, no, okay, I'm good now. I don't need to continue seeking in that way. So I understand when people can say, I've been a spiritual seeker for a while, and I think I'm good with it. I think I'm okay. I think we get to a place in our self, in our essence, that we know when it's time to either ask a different question, or maybe just be content with where we are and what we know and what we feel at that point.
Wow, pretty cool. This is really, maybe this is a segue into something that I really wanted to explore with you, which is the Akashic Records. I had so many people, we had thousands of people in this network, and I had many people that had experiences with the Akashic Records, but to this day, I don't have a clarity about what it is and how do you get access. Could you help me and the rest of the viewers out?
Well, what's really interesting? So what's awesome about that is I've actually had my Akashic Records read. So I'm contemplating taking a course and learning how to do it. So what I do understand is that it is simply accessing of an energy, a frequency of energy. What's just to throw a little curveball into it, though, what's really interesting is I've also started a new project where I'm interviewing spiritually aware young people, because I feel that, or I know that, another thing I know, right? And I don't mean that lightly, but I know that a very large part of our collective consciousness are the young people, and I don't feel that most of them have a real strong voice. So I've been interviewing, and whatever this turns out to be, we'll see. But I was interviewing a 12-year-old boy, and he was talking about the Lemurian archives. He accesses the Lemurian archives. So I said, well, is that different? And what's the difference between that and the Akashic Records? And according to this 12-year-old boy, he said that the Akashic Records is very, very much this dimension, and information regarding the three-dimensional Earth plane and our dimension. But the Lemurian archives is the entire universe and all the different dimensions and the different planes. So, and it's a matter of an energy, basically just accessing or tuning in to that energy, and then it's just a knowing at that level. So what are the Akashic Records? What are the Lemurian archives? I mean, we could probably do a series on that, but and is it even important? Is it even important to know? I mean, I don't know. That goes to your question.
I just have a curiosity about it. Is it?
Right.
Is it? So let me check this out with you. So is it really about our journey and our purpose? Is it
right.
close? Is it about that? I mean,
You
I
know,
wouldn't be
well,
looking. I wouldn't be looking. Like if I wanted to have somebody um, tell me what's in the Akashic records about Steve Toth,
mhm,
I'm not interested in necessarily about that. What what's going to happen in the future? Like I'm not looking
right,
for fortune telling.
right.
I would be just looking for. I would like to have some more clarity about what is my essence and what did I come here for to accomplish. I mean, I kind of know the answer already because I'm doing it,
Right,
but
right.
just maybe what I'm looking for is just confirmation. Now, why would I be
Right.
looking for confirmation? Am I not sure, or because I'm
Well,
sure, but it would be kind of cool to know if.
it's very cool to know. Absolutely. I agree with you. And then I question sometimes though if somebody just tells us versus us experiencing or seeing it,
Hmm,
if it's really our truth, and then you have to have a level of confidence. I think it's very difficult to be in this aware of the three dimension and know that we're so much more and know it, but then not necessarily see it, feel it as strongly as maybe we would want to have that. Like you said, what is my purpose? It's unfolding. But I'll just throw another curveball because I think all these thoughts. So I appreciate having this conversation. Um, I had my Akashic records read, and the woman I had it read with, she said, "What do you want to know?" She says, they're vast. Ask me questions. So I asked her what my name was. I asked what my soul colors are. I asked things about my essence. And what happened was many of the things that she told me, I had already seen or known. And I wasn't looking for confirmation. It was just how the conversation unfolded. I received confirmation. And I think that it's important to, whenever we do any sort of spiritual exploration, that we always back something up with our own personal experience, that we do the work also. You know what I mean? That we don't just look for somebody to give us the answers, that we do the regressions, or we do the meditations, or we do the further study. We sit in our own knowing and we see what we feel, because that's really the validation, I believe.
yeah, that's definitely right on. Well, I continuously I'm being curious about it. So I'm sure when it's time for me to know more about it, it will present itself. When the teacher is ready and then the pupil is ready, they show up for each other. Um,
Right.
here's my next curiosity about what you do, and that is the animal totem readings. I
Mhm.
I'm in love with animals. I mean, I have a parrot. I have a cat. I get it. What a close relationship we can have with animals because I'm having them. Um, and I get them, and it's so interesting. Like my cat has such a love for me. I mean, and I have a lot of love for her. It's like it is so cool that as soon as I sit down, she'll come up and she like talks to me. I sometimes wish, but she talks to me in whatever cat language she's using, but it's just very audible. And of course, I don't understand the things she says, but it's very interesting because she's talking to me.
Right. Well, what's interesting about cats is that some people believe that cats are multidimensional beings and they see into the other dimensions. And that was
Well,
one of the reasons that in Egypt that they were so revered. It wasn't just because they caught the rodents and kept the rodents at bay, was because the level of the mystery schools and the level of the spiritual depth that the early Egyptians went to, that they believed the cat, that they communicated with the cats. So I love cats too, and my story starts with my cat, who is now passed, but um, my whole first book is about animal totems. My spiritual journey started with the animals, and without me having any idea what animal totems are. But what I've learned about animal totems, what I've learned about animal symbolism, is that it's a way of divine communication. It's another form of divination, and I believe that the divine, in whatever way you want to describe the divine, the spiritual oneness that we are all a part of, is a way for to communicate with us. So with me, they communicated through the animals, through very specific, very unique physical visits of animals, until I kind of figured out what was happening. You can hear my dog
right now in the background.
So, and right, one of the animals that visited me was the dog. But you know what's interesting about animal totems? So just in case some of the viewers, maybe they don't know, but if you think, you know, Native Americans or even the Druids, any of the ancient civilizations, what happens with animal totems is that the behaviors and characteristics of the animal are symbolic of their message. So when an animal presents itself, whether physically in a meditation, in a dream state, very uniquely or repetitively to you, then, you know, you can certainly, I believe, know that the divine is communicating. And you look to the behavior, the characteristic of the animal, and that is symbolic of the message. And that happened to me actually for a few years before I really understood what was happening, till I kind of woke up, started paying attention, and realized that I was receiving these beautiful messages at a very difficult time in my life.
Interesting. So how does this relate to, like, as you know, the Chinese uses all these animals, and, you know, I'm not sure that they're totems, but the picture of animals to, like, you know, we use Pisces, for example. I was born in March, so I'm Pisces. But in the Chinese calendar, I'm a horse. So how does that,
right,
help me try to understand the difference?
Well, you know, the behaviors and the characteristics are the same. So the symbolism of the animal is the same. So how it's used in the Chinese calendar or in other ways may vary. Like right now they say we just entered the year of the goat and or the year of the sheep. So, for example, the year of the goat, a goat is known to be sure-footed, right? It's really purposefully following its path. The sheep is known to be, you know, kind of herded or easily led, or the group mentality, not really thinking for themselves. So the year of the goat or the year of the sheep, depending which one you choose to follow, it is truly the symbolism of the animal that is the guiding message.
Wow,
and it's same with animal totems. Mm-hmm.
Well, we have a lot of sheep stuff going on, that's for sure.
We have some sheep stuff, and for the horse, I'll just tell you, I don't know every animal, but I do know the symbolism of the horse. And the horse is very much about journey, very much about movement. When the humans started riding horses or using horses for transportation, their ability to cover great distances and move forward very quickly was increased dramatically. So the horse is very much a symbol of journeys, moving forward, you know, travel. So it's a great totem.
Yeah, I love horses. They're very smart and very elegant beings.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, so I'm a little bit more curious. I'm going to go back to those extraordinary experiences that, and I don't know, maybe I'm too soon to ask this question, but the young people, that's fascinating to me that you're working with young people and having them share with you their spiritual or extraordinary experiences. Would you have any of the stories that you may be able to share on? Because I'm really curious, because I feel that the young people, a lot of young people don't have a voice, and you know, I feel they don't have a voice because we don't give it to them.
Right, I agree. I agree.
It's like so sad.
Well, and that's one of the things that I'm intending to change with this project, right? To really bring voice to the younger generation, because, as you know, and I don't like labels, and I don't like, you know, they label things too easily. So I really like the idea of they're spiritually aware, they're having extraordinary experiences. So I'll give you a great example that I like to share, and it just explains the whole reason that I've been drawn to this so strongly is, I'm also an interfaith, interspiritual minister, and I had a mom contact me maybe a month or so ago. She had heard about me and said that she has a 9-year-old daughter. Her name is Ava. She will be in my book. I've already interviewed her. And Ava sees spirits, but they're making Ava afraid. So Ava was scared, and she was telling her mother about these darker images she's seeing, some lighter images she's seeing, and she's not sure what to do with it. And so her mom asked me if I could talk to her about it. So I said, sure. So I was talking with Ava, and she was explaining what was happening. And so we had this whole conversation about, created this whole framework to say, Ava, you're a spirit too. So that light that you see, whether it's light or it's dark, that's you too. But you're even cooler than that because you have this body that you have that they don't have any longer. So you're the spirit and the body. And that makes you really powerful. And she liked that. She was like, wow, she never thought of herself as a spirit. She just saw herself as this body, and these spirits she was seeing were afraid. She was afraid. So I said, Ava, you're in charge. You're in charge. All you have to do is tell them to go away, and they'll go away because you have the spirit and the body. So a couple of days later, her mom messaged me and said that Ava was feeling much better, that she had really taken to the framework that I had created, and she was doing great. So a couple weeks ago, I interviewed Ava for the book, and so I just started with, so how have you been? And she said she's doing great. And I said, are you still seeing any spirits or whatever? And she says she sees them every day now. She sees them every day, and she also sees these colored orbs, which she calls her angels. And she's not afraid of the orbs at all, and she was explaining them to me. And I said, so what do you do? I said, are you afraid? She goes, no. And I said, well, what do you do when you see them? And she says, I just tell them to go away. And I said, do they listen? And she says, yes. She said, sometimes it takes a time or two, but they go away. And Ava's like the tiniest little baby girl you've ever seen, like 50 pounds maybe. And I said, why do they go away, Ava? And she said, because I'm in charge. And I said, you know, you're the coolest girl ever.
And how old is she?
So she's 9 years old.
9.
But this is the part, Steve, that really got me. And I said, this is why I'm doing the work, because the last question I asked in the interview is, what would you like people to know? What message would you like to share? You know, if you could tell anybody anything. And she says, I want the other children to know they do not need to be afraid. And I said, well, you just told them, and I'm going to tell them for you. And that, to me, you know, that's awesome, because for every 9-year-old Ava there is that has a mom who can bring her to somebody like me to have that really important conversation, there's, I would say, thousands or more that don't, you know, and that are afraid and that are scared, and all sorts of different behaviors and belief systems, and, you know, stress and worry comes out of things where we're just not having those conversations yet. We're not having those open, honest, what's your spiritual truth conversations to allow people to be comfortable, to allow people to have their experience.
Yeah, very interesting. Well, while you were mentioning scary, what was coming to me is I do not like scary movies, and for the simple reason is that they're not entertaining me, number one. I'm not afraid. I know it's all make-believe, but they're not entertaining me. But they actually, I feel that those movies are, their frequency is very low. And I'm just not interested in being involved in something that resonates at such a low frequency. And
right.
Of course, I could say this to my kids, and I have, and it doesn't matter because they're going to parent their kids the way they want to, and they let their kids, my grandsons and my granddaughters, to watch these stupid movies, and you know, it's like I don't know. There's not a whole lot I can do about it because they are the parents and they're in control. I try to influence. I wasn't going anywhere. So what do you think about that? Because I know this is an ongoing thing that's going on, and Hollywood doesn't seem to care. They just care about making money. But they're putting all this garbage out, and kids are soaking it up. And
right.
what does that do to our brain and to our mindset and to our energy and to our frequency and to our truth?
Right. Right. No, I agree completely. I don't like them either. And I have to say, I don't like violent movies. You know, I don't like scary movies. I don't like violent movies. I don't like movies that, you know, have sex in them or show abuse in any way. I think that
Oh, I can't say I don't like
because
that.
I think it's because I'm going to just let that go. I think it's because we're truly so disconnected as human beings with our truth, with our energy. We don't see the connection, we don't feel the connection. And I think when we can really have the conversations and really talk about, there are really true repercussions of what happens when we engage in energies that are lower vibrational, like you said, or less than love, or negative, where they have the negative energies. There's a frequency disconnect that happens. And so, yes, I think that is dangerous, as a collective, that it goes on such a grand scale. And I think that's, again, why it's so important for people to have the spiritual conversations, because when they really look through, as I say, their spiritual eyes, as they show up in their truth and know the essence of who they are and know the beauty of who they are, I don't see people freely choosing to want to engage in those lower vibrations.
Yeah.
They just don't know yet.
I agree, but this is so much bigger. I mean, we just touched on one little thing, which is scary movies.
Mm-hmm.
It is these negative energies that, I don't know how we got on this path, but now that we're here, might as well talk about it. I'm not one of those guys that I'm not going to talk about negative stuff or negative energy or low frequency, and I'm just going to cover it up with positivity. I feel there's so many people, especially in our space, that somehow bought this thing hook, line, and sinker, that as long as they are always positive and they always just deal with the good stuff, the bad stuff doesn't really exist. And I must say otherwise, that the bad stuff does exist.
Right. Right.
and
No,
I'm not engaging with the bad stuff, but I'm acknowledging that it does exist, because it didn't, how would I know the difference? How would I know bad from good and low frequency to high frequency? How would I know the difference?
Right. Right. What's interesting? So I could take this in three directions, but the first thing I want to say is, yes, I agree with you. Lower vibrations do exist. Negativity does exist. I think that, right. I think people can choose what vibration they want or what frequency they want to show up in, and that helps a tremendous amount. But absolutely, the negative, or I think of it like, unless it's a dense energy, is absolutely there. But I think it's really important to also throw in the mix that what we were talking about in the beginning of the conversation is that, or I believe that there's many different types of spiritual beings. So some people, I believe, yes, they are in a denser energy. They have a different purpose. They may have a different path than others. I don't believe that everybody is here, every human being is here, has to learn a lesson, is revisiting karma, has to understand the duality. I don't believe that that's everybody's purpose or everybody's path. I think it depends on the type of spiritual being that you are. Having said both of those things, though, I just want to say I struggle with this because, people throw around the term spiritual warfare, let's say, and they think, there's what I thought you were going to go with this was everybody just thinks the ascension is going to happen and everybody's going to just rise one day and be happy and love and everything's going to be wonderful. I don't believe. Well, they thought that with 2012, right? The calendar was going to turn and it would be nirvana.
Yeah, and people were selling tickets.
I don't believe that either. Exactly. I don't believe that either. I believe there's work to be done. Having said all that, there's real work to be done. And I think that that's another reason that the conversations like we're having tonight are so important, because it's important that people start making conscious choices. They start really doing the inner work or asking the questions that we're asking in order to raise the greater collective consciousness, because I do believe that work has to be done. We are in a dense energy, and if we choose, we can raise, rise above it, and I believe we need to.
Yeah, I agree, and let's use some real experiences from like life. I believe in walking the talk. So about 6 months ago, and time is passing really fast. I was asked to take this work of consciousness and conscious evolution, and take it into the world. And I thought I was already doing that by doing the network, but apparently not, because I felt that I kind of developed this bubble around me. Like I ended up in this utopia kind of a world, which is called Conscious Evolution Media, and I had all these great people like you and all the people through the laws of attraction. I attracted all these fantastic people that are so easy to be with and so easy to talk with, that after 10 years of it, I went like, well, this is wonderful, but there is a whole world out there that really sucks. And what if I go out?
I agree.
And what if I go out to the real world and see if I can make a difference with all this stuff that I've been doing for the last? How about that? How about that as a concept? So I did go into and I'm still in there doing that, and it's very exciting work. I'm actually bringing this to corporate America. And yesterday, I had to fire 2 people. So firing people, I'm not passionate about that. And it was not a positive experience, but I attempted to make it as positive as I could, and I acknowledged the people. I have to do it one at a time, and I acknowledged the people first for who they were for me. What was my experience of them, and I acknowledged them for all the good stuff that I learned from them, and I didn't blame them for anything that they didn't do well, because I didn't think that would have made a difference, and I didn't want to get into any arguments and discussions about it. I just wanted to get it over with really, really fast. But I wanted to. So I've been fired more than once in my lifetime, and I remembered sometimes it's just like this. You sit down at a table, and there's a couple of people, one person in front of you, one next to them, because they have to witness the situation. And there's a guy I'll never forget. He just basically looks at me and he says, "We have come to this decision that we have to terminate you today, and here are your walking papers, and see you later." And that was it. And to me, that was just so not human. Do you know what I mean? So before I had to do this deed, I basically said to myself, so what can I do from what I know to improve this experience of terminating 2 people because it was no longer working, but not have it to be, so negative, and I didn't want to destroy them in the process, you know what I mean? Because it wasn't really about that. It was about whatever they were doing for us wasn't working out because we thought that they knew more than what they let us know. And it's just like anything else. You get together with people and you start working together, and you find out who they really are and what they really know. And we just found out they really didn't know all that stuff that they told us that they knew, and it doesn't work. We have to do something else. And I was okay with that, but I wanted to. It was really important to me to let them know. Like, even the second person that I terminated, I even said to her at the end, "You are an awesome human being." Do you know what I'm trying to get at here?
Well, I think I do, and I'll just share with you that I've been fired also through, maybe once or twice.
It happens
throughout my life. So it happens to the best of us. As you were speaking, what kept coming to me though was the thought of the connection, the oneness, the conscious choice of how we show up every day. And it's interesting because I had an experience similar to this today, not anything to do with work, but having to do with a situation I was uncomfortable with, a situation that made me feel as in an old pattern or a certain way, and it was a conscious decision on my part after, maybe a couple tears and, yelling, at the ceiling for a minute, to decide to show up differently, to do it differently as truly as a, if I'm going to walk the walk as a spiritual being, say, not only how is this affecting me, but what am I sending out into the universe? What is my light doing right now? And am I making the conscious choice to be angry and upset and the poor me or the victim type of mentality, or am I making a conscious choice to let it go, to know it's not about me, to truly just come from a place of how is this affecting not only me on my journey, but everyone around me. So what I believe you were saying was, there's a lot of stuff around us all the time that we may be involved with or maybe watching from afar that is not good, is not positive, and I would say as a spiritual being that it's important that we consciously understand that and we show up to the best that we can every time, because we make a huge effect on everybody around us in the way that we interact. So that you showing up the way that you did, and you being compassionate and you being kind and handling it in a way that was a very human way of doing it, that just reverberated out more light, more kindness, more joy into the universe, even in a situation like that.
Right. And so the message in that is really, so what I took away from that is, as often as I am able to, I do ask myself, whatever that's going to come out of my mouth, or whatever it is that I'm going, or what I'm about to do, is that really serving the highest and best interest of myself and everyone else concerned? And I know that's a long sentence, but I can ask it much faster inside of myself. and when I ask that question, my ego automatically stands down. That's my experience. My ego just automatically says, "Oops, this one I can't be involved in." You know what I mean?
Right. And imagine if everybody or a majority of people showed up in that way. If they asked for the highest and best good in the interaction that they were taking part in at that time, or they asked to be guided in the highest and best good of all in the decision they'll be making for themselves and for others. Imagine collectively how powerful that is, in the highest and best good. I mean, that, if everyone could do that, I think, we'd be doing pretty well. I mean,
yeah, no kidding.
Think about the collective consciousness. I mean, people talk about the power of prayer, right? They talk about group prayer. Why does that all work? Well, it works because we have that intention, we have that focus, and now you have multiple spiritual beings having the same intention, the same focus. Of course, it's going to be powerful. So, absolutely, I would, if people take anything at all away from this conversation tonight, I think that would be awesome. If they took only that, would be amazing.
Yeah, I agree. And there's something that was just coming to me right now, and I was going to go to your website real quick here. Something about the details. I saw something. And do you have something? Thanks. Oh, God is in the little things. Like, the way I took that is in the little details. So what I wanted to say about that is that there are thousands and thousands, hundreds of thousands of details that are happening every day in all of us' lives, right? And I'm feeling more and more like this, is that everything matters. Every little thing matters. How we respond to something, if we allow us to react versus just step back and ask that question before we react. And I'm not saying, I mean, I've reacted to one of my partners before, just a couple of weeks ago, but I noticed that in the past I would just blame him pushing my button. And this time I said, oh, I thought I healed this button, but obviously I didn't because he just pushed it, and I reacted. And
Right.
instead of making him the bad guy, I basically said to him, I need to go outside, take a deep breath, maybe a couple of them. But right now, I need to kind of process this with myself because it's not about you. This is about me. And I did that, and I went outside, and I realized that that button that he pushed, I still have it, and it hasn't been pushed like for 10 years, but he pushed it, and then I went back and I said I apologize. So the way I reacted is really about me, and this is just something I want you to know about. Now we have an opportunity to get closer if you want to. I certainly want to. So I don't mind that you know this about me, and I explained it to him. And so in the future, you have a choice. If you want to hurt me, you can push that button because I may or may not react. I don't know. But I probably still will because it's not healed completely, not 100%. So you have a choice in the future. You don't have to push the button if you don't want to. But if you do, just know. If you do, just know that if I react, I'm going to react probably the same way. It's not about you. It's about me, and I'll take care of it.
Right.
So
right.
can you imagine?
It's always about us. Right.
Yeah. So can you imagine, like if I could do this, like what I just practiced here with you, if I could have done this in my 2 marriages, wow, what a difference that would have made.
Right. Right. If we got that right, if I knew then what I know now, right? Absolutely.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
it's always about us. It's always about us. That goes back to what we were even saying before when we were saying how much seeking is enough, when I said I don't need to do any more past life regressions. Because what I realized was it's all about self-love and it's all about self-forgiveness. It's all about self. And it doesn't even matter what the ego story is any longer. It doesn't matter why I'm triggered. Truly, like for you to figure out why that triggered you. On some level, it might be helpful.
I kind of know what it is, but it doesn't matter. All I'm paying attention to right now in my life is that I want to be able to stop myself from reacting, and I want to be able to process it really as fast as possible, like within 10 seconds. That would be awesome.
Right.
I would be happy with that.
Yeah. Well, that again, that's what happened to me today. I said, this is a conscious choice that I'm making. I need to be aware that it's not about what I think this person did to me. It's not about how I'm feeling. It's not about after I shed a couple tears, I'm like, okay, this is really about me. It's about my choice. It's about my journey. Do I choose to show up and handle this differently than the last time this happened? Do I choose? And it took a little while. I'm not saying I was like, oh yeah, I'll handle it differently. It took me like pacing probably for 20 minutes and self-talking and saying, okay, you want this to be different. It has, you're making a different choice. It's not about them. It's about the way that you're choosing to show up and handle this. And I'm choosing differently. And I did, and it's always about self. Always. If we're ever looking outside ourselves, we're looking in the wrong place because it's always about us. It's kind of nice because we can be really completely narcissistic, and it's appropriate because it's always about us, right? It's our learning. It's our journey. It's our learning. Knowing, though, that everything then is connected and has an impact on the greater collective. Always.
Yeah, and he was actually, I actually thanked him. I remember now. I thanked him to push my button because obviously it needed to be pushed for whatever reason because I got something out of it that I handled myself. I had a completely, like you said, I had a completely different experience of the button pushing that, I didn't blow up. I stopped myself. I removed myself from the circumstances, and I processed it, and I calmed myself down. Totally,
right.
180-degree difference from the way I handled it before. You know what I mean?
Right. Right, so it might have just been an opportunity for you to realize that you actually really have grown so much, that you have moved past that. You know, they say the universe, God, the divine, keeps giving us opportunities, right? So this maybe was just, it doesn't mean the next time you'll react that way. The next time you may not react at all because you've had an opportunity to see that you did handle it differently. You consciously understood what was happening and you chose to react differently. So you may not be triggered again. You may not be triggered in the future.
Yeah,
You
who
may be
knows?
past it.
It doesn't even matter, really. All that matters, why I feel good about the experience, is that I didn't go after his throat, which is normally what I would have done. So, so it's like no, this, we're not gonna do this that way. You know, it's like I'm not gonna create this drama, because there's so much of that going on, and it's really these back and forth. You know, I push your button, you push mine. We just keep doing it, and it will cycle down completely. And
Right.
you know, I've been there, done that. Not interested. It's not fun.
Right.
So, by the way, I
Steve,
said, yeah, go ahead.
no, I was going to say, but what I believe really happened there, though, right? If we talk about energy, if we talk about vibration, if we talk about light, right? You change the vibration, you change the frequency, you change the energy there. What was a lower vibration or could have spiraled, like you said, down into that lower vibration, you changed it, you transmuted it into even just neutral. You know, whether it went to light or a higher vibration or just a neutral. But that's what was really happening there. So consciously it was like, oh, I didn't get triggered. But spiritually, energetically, you know, the light then was able to shine, which is very cool.
Yeah, it is very cool. So we have literally thousands and hundreds of thousands of opportunities all day long, because we keep talking about on these shows about choice, and choice is a very interesting word. And I wanted to mention this to you also, is that I'm struggling, and I've been in broadcasting for a decade, and I'm struggling. I'm having all kinds of very interesting spiritual experiences, not just during the day, but even when I'm dreaming. And I'm lacking the words how to explain it. Do you come across that?
Can you explain a little more of what you mean?
There are no words in the English language that I could describe some of the feelings and experiences that I'm having.
Right. Well, they say our language is...
And I'll give you an example, because it's right here. So the example I want to give you, I had attempted this on the shows numerous times. I had this wonderful experience, I don't even remember when, probably a couple of years ago, where for the first time in my life I was able to quiet my mind. I talked about it until then, forever in my lifetime. Everybody told me, you gotta quiet your mind down to nothing. And I said, oh, okay, whatever. And how do you do that? I can't do it. You know, there's all this chatter going on. And 2 years ago, it just happened magically. You know, I don't know if it's magically, but it just happened. And I'm having difficulty coming up with words how I could explain it to the viewers. I would love to explain it to the viewers. What is this experience? Like, I can attempt to describe it right now. Like, there is silence. I'm speaking to you, and I'm listening to you, and I'm over there with you, but in the background there is silence. And I can't find the words. How do I describe it? Because the word silence by itself is not enough. You know what I mean?
Right. No, I do, and it's beautiful, isn't it? No, it's beautiful. I mean, our language is limited. I mean, it is very limited to express what you felt. Like, I feel like what happened is you know, you really just connected. There was no disconnection at that point. You know, I feel that that's where the anger and the stress and the anxiety and just the busyness comes, because we're so disconnected, you know, but at that point, what it sounds like is that your spirit and your body, there was a true union, and then it was just, you know, that place of bliss and that's a limiting word too, but that's pretty cool. See, that's the kind of experience that you have once, twice, and, you know, you're always going after that perfect bite again. Then from that point, right, you just keep seeking.
Yeah, it's like there's no. I'm wondering, like you said this several times on the show, like, you know, what's next? Because now it's a constant experience. The quietness and the silence is a constant experience. Not, I can't say 100%, but it's a predominant experience of mine. Even when I'm talking with people, even when I'm being with people, when I do the shows, in the background, my background is silence. I'm doing the shows from a silence background. I guess that's a way to describe it. So I want to talk about this thing, because what's happening in corporate America, this is really pissing me off. So this little device is fantastic, but this little device is not going to run me, okay? It never has, and it never will. And I'm watching people, you know, in corporate America, when this thing rings or buzzes or does whatever it does, people cannot help themselves. They are not in control. This thing is in control. I could be in a conversation with somebody, and as soon as this thing rings, they jump for it, and they'll answer it. And here I am, and I'm going like, hey, what am I? We were having a conversation. We were having an important discussion. And you chose to answer this phone over this conversation we were having, which was important.
Right. Right. Well, you know, I'm a mom of 2 teenagers, so
so you know all about this.
Yeah, I know all about that. But what I think is really interesting, and I've probably a decade out of corporate America now, but what I think is really interesting is the busyness of the device. It's not even, I don't even think, you know, a lack of manners or like, hey, I'm right here. It's this constant need to be busier and busier and busier.
Well, I feel a quality of addiction. People have an addiction to this thing. And it's very addictive.
Absolutely.
It's like sugar. You got to have more.
Well, and I'll tell you, I'm just as guilty of it. So I'm something that's come to my attention that I know I need to make a conscious choice. So my phone is on the nightstand by my bed. So at least once at night, probably like 5:30, I wake up. You know, I wake up, I have to use the bathroom, and I find myself reaching over and looking at my phone and checking my email. It's 5 in the morning, checking my email, checking social media, seeing if anybody texted me. Not that I'm going to answer at 5 in the morning, but no. But so I'm just as guilty, and it's the stillness. It's like, can my mind just be still? You know. So now I'm consciously not, and it's hard. You know, I wake up once a night, you know, and I'm like, no, I can't look at my phone. It's a stress for me not to pick up and look at my phone for 5 minutes before I fall back asleep. Isn't that crazy? And I'm the one sitting here saying we're spiritual beings. We should, you know, we're on our spiritual journey, and on and on. And it's difficult for me to get out of the busyness of constantly being engaged in something other than that stillness you're talking about.
So here's what I think that's happening. I could be way off, and I'm willing to be. But I think somehow there's a connection between our mind and this that we may not be aware of. It could be a byproduct of this whole creation, that these things are talking to each other even when we're not aware that they are talking to each other. It's like frequency. It's like energy. This is energy. My mind is energy. This thing wants more and more information. This provides information, tons of it. So this is like a smorgasbord of information that this thing wants.
Right, right. Well, it's funny, it sounds like a science fiction movie, right, for a minute, but I know studies have been done, and they have noticed there's even like a real rewiring of, brain patterns and brain waves. So I don't know about that for sure, exactly what's happening, but I do believe that, yes, that the frequencies are affected.
It's just an intuition I have about it. Somehow there's collaboration. That's the word I wanted to use. There's collaboration going on without our checking off that this is okay.
Right. Right. I'm not sure about that, but I have to say that yes, I'm one of those people that's probably not completely addicted, but I'm always wondering where's my phone. So I need to work on, detaching from that a little bit for sure.
Yeah. Well, Patricia, you were absolutely fascinating. Our conscious hour is over. It's 5 minutes. That's what it feels like. I really enjoyed being with you and connecting with you. You are an awesome human being, and I really mean it, Patricia. I also want to give you the opportunity before I close out the show to mention your book, your website, whatever that's happening with you right now that you want our viewers to know about.
Yes, thank you so much. Yes, my website is patriciabrooks.net, and I actually have 2 books. They're the God is in the Little Things series, and they're the retelling of my spiritual journey to date. So more will be coming, and again, I have a new project that I'm working on with the youth that I'm excited about. So thank you. So
that sounds really cool. Thank you so much. So Patricia, thank you for being who you are, and embracing our truth as spiritual beings. Awesome conversation. And I just want to remind everybody that our shows are on YouTube Live and also on our YouTube channel. And every month, the top 10 shows will be, one of the shows out of the top 10 shows will be selected, the ones that have the most viewers to go to public television. So keep watching and keep coming back to Conscious Evolution Media if you feel that this is something that is or will be your smorgasbord. If this is something that you want to use to feed yourself with, I certainly do. And so keep coming back. ConsciousEvolutionMedia.com. Thank you for being with us this evening, and we'll see you next week. All of our network shows are at 7 p.m. Mountain Time, 9 p.m. Eastern. Have a great evening, Patricia, and a good weekend. And we're looking at snowstorms coming. We're going to have like a foot of snow, which is nothing in comparison to Boston. So here we go. Have a great weekend.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you so much for having me. Okay.
Thank you.